Okay, good afternoon everyone. Just thought I'd do a quick follow-up of my past few days, the experiences I've had with the new DSLR, and thought I'd show you some of the DSLR lenses and what they cost, because I think this is quite an important factor if you want to save money. If you don't want to spend a fortune, and comparing these with some of the Z mount options. So I'm going to begin with the D850. I think my last DSLR was the D7200. I think, yeah. So it's quite some time ago since I last had a DSLR. And you know something? I forgot how easy they are to use, how intuitive they are to use. Once now I've set it up the way I kind of want it, it's so easy to change the settings. They really were designed not to have to look in the menu system, and I think in that respect they're designed better than the cameras of today, and they are so more comfortable to hold. I'm sure the Z8 and the Z9 are just as equally, because they're about the same size, so they're probably going to have the same kind of comfy grips. And you aren't going to get anything better to hold and to feel if in these, if you can put up with the slightly bigger sizes of these cameras, then you do gain quite a wonderful feel with them. I mean, yes, you have to, like when you first take a shot, you have to check your exposure by taking a shot and having to look at play it back, have a look, see if you need to change the exposure. It's not done for you in the viewfinder. It's an extra step that you don't have to do with mirrorless, but it teaches you how it's a learning curve. I remember when I first got a DSLR, after a while you don't have to worry about that, and you can always change it in post if you really do get it wrong. But it's so easy to do, and you really do not have to look into the menu system at all. I know you don't necessarily with mirrorless, but you don't need all these extra function buttons. That's the difference. You don't need all the way the buttons and the way the layout and the design. All the buttons are at your fingertips. All of them, everything. I mean, this is your mode dial, and your white balance and everything. But these are quite easy to change, and your other dial here for single, burst shooting, etc. It's all there. It's all on the outside of the camera, and it really is a joy to use. And I didn't realise, it's been so long that I kind of regret now not having got one a bit sooner, just to use along, not instead of mirrorless, but I will keep my Z6 and I will keep my Z50, no question. I still don't know what I'm doing with the ZF yet, because I've still got it. But when I look at the array of Z lenses, there just isn't a lens there that really stands out to me and says, I want that lens. And this is a problem. I know this sounds strange. So getting onto lenses, I mean, I've got the 500 PF now on this. Now, okay, I can put an adapter and I can use that, which I probably will. I would probably use that with the Z50, because I think, you know, I've got that extra reach. Although with this 45mm, 45mm, 45 megapixel camera, obviously that allows for a lot of cropping, but it's a bit lighter. So I'm probably going to use this more for macro and landscape, as opposed to wildlife, I think, at the moment. I think that's the route I'm going to go down. Now the alternative, the Z alternatives, because obviously they haven't bought a 500 out, because I don't think they want to compete with this particular lens. It's still such a viable lens, even though you need an adapter to put it on a Z mount. I don't think they would want, I feel that they don't want to compete with this lens at this point in time. So what's the other options? Well, I can go for the 600, but if you do that, then you're paying 3 or 4 times the price for an extra 100mm that's slower. Is that good value for money? I don't think it is. Not for my purposes. No, it isn't. The 400, I don't really want to go less in terms of distance. Well, if I've got 500, why do I want 400? You know, I think 500 is kind of the sweet spot, if you know what I mean. It's not too big, it's not too heavy, it's just perfect, and that's why I love this lens so much. Now, if I want to do sports or action, I've got the older. Now, I've taken some shots with this. It's incredibly sharp. It really is. It's a beautiful lens. £500. I think it cost me £6 in total with the customs charges I had to pay. But I mean, if you could get you know, you could get one for probably about 4, maybe 5 in this kind of condition. If you don't, if you're quite happy, which most people would be with the black version. You know, I just love this particular colour on it, and so I didn't mind paying a little bit more to have it shipped from Japan for this particular version. It's an absolutely lovely lens. No qualms about, you know, it's what, a quarter of the price or a third of the price of the newer Z version. Am I really going to see any differences? I mean, look, as I said before, I'm not trying to say these are better than Z mount. They're not. But these are a fantastic alternative without breaking the bank. You know, I don't care what anybody says. The Z versions aren't 3 or 4 times worth the money of over the F mount versions. They're just not. They're just simply not. It's, you know, I doubt whether they're built as well, let alone anything else. Yes, they'll be faster autofocusing, but again, you know, sometimes if you really need it, then by all means go for it. And as I said, I'm talking as an amateur, not as a professional. And you don't want to be spending thousands and thousands on something you don't really need, when there's something just cheaper that can do the job just as well. This is another one, the 24-70. Again, this is really sharp lens. It's a lovely lens. £300 to £400 all day long, mint condition. I mean, can you really go wrong with these kind of prices? And you know, you can't. I mean, this one's more expensive at 1,500. You know, you can get this. This is still, you know, but that's for a 500mm prime. That is not a bad price. It's still about half the price, or I don't know, about £1,000 less than or half the price of the 400 Z version. It's about 3-4 times cheaper than the 600mm Z version. You know, it's you're going to pay a little bit more for the 180 to 600. You know, which I mean, that lens is fairly reasonable, I think, for Z mount. But there's just nothing that pops out at me with Z mount at the moment. There's, you know, for what I want to do, and my latest acquisition, because I wanted landscape, so I wanted something wide. So I was looking at a lot of examples, and then I remembered an old lens, and I thought, I can't remember what it was like back then, and it was the Tamron 15-30 2.8, and here it is, absolutely mint condition, beautiful condition, £400. It was about £1,200–1,500 when it first come back out back in the day, and now 400 in this condition is an absolute bargain. Now, I just thought, before I bought this, because I was dithering about, do I go for the 16-35 f4, or do I go for the 14-24 Sigma, or the 14-24 Nikon? You know, I mean, let's bear in mind the 14-24 Z mount is about £2,500, £2,000. You know, 4 times as much as any of these options. Is it worth? No, not in a million years. It's probably lighter. This is quite big. It's quite heavy, but. And of course, my favourite reviewers, Dustin Abbott and Christopher Frost, both had reviewed this lens. So that's always a good marker. And you know, they commented, this is one of the best wide-angle lenses ever produced. And the only thing is, I don't think this would actually work. I'm not sure on a Z mount with adapter, because I know some of the older Tamron lenses work slightly differently. They will work on your DSLRs, but they won't. Tamron would have to update them, I think, and I don't think they even do that anymore. So this would not possibly be an option, or would not be compatible on a Z mount lens, even with the adapter. But you would be missing out on an absolutely fantastic lens. So that's another good reason to have a DSLR. And so this will be great. Oh, and the macro. Bear with me, I forgot the macro lens. One other lens. Here we go, my macro lens, the Nikon 105 VR lens. Now this one's got a few little scratches around here with a bit of paint loss, but other than that it works perfectly. Again, it's a pretty heavy lens. Oh, I've turned that on. Yeah, I've got that on my Z6. Works fine with the adapter, no issues at all. £250. Now, 250 quid. I mean, if that went wrong tomorrow, I wouldn't really worry about it too much when I've only paid 250 quid for it. But it's a perfectly good lens. So, excuse me breathing, I might be breathing a bit heavy. I've got a bit of a cold. So there you go. You know, if you're 250, 500, well, you can get these mint condition for about £500, £400, 1,500 the most expensive, and again about 350 mint condition. So there you go. You know, what is there not to love? And if you've never used a DSLR, believe me, they are really easy to use. So there you go. There's some lenses. There's some options. Till the next one.